help out from Egypt. You don't need to be there to be helping out.
The one thing that I was so bothered by with Sima was that she said, I will not move and I will not go anywhere for a man.
Yes.
And my problem with that is like, I'm 48. I'm okay. So maybe I have been married for a very long time. I would move for a man.
Right.
I would, if I've been pursuing love and I've been wanting to be in love and be in a partnership, like she's been wanting for so long, because she's told Carrie so many times how she just would love to be in love. Why would you not? You're not giving up anything of yourself. You're still the accomplished, amazing realtor that you've always been. It does not diminish you in any way.
No, of course not. It's what Robin Williams has said to Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting, when he explained to him that he doesn't know what love is. And when Robin says, he told him that when he had talked about all the picadillos and idiosyncrasies of his ex-wife before she had passed away from cancer, and that he missed a particular famous ball game between the Red Sox and the Yankees for love. He says that's what love is, and that's what Matt Damon understood at the end of the movie when he took off, and that
looking for
that girl,
for Skylar
that had eventually moved to California. And so you can move for love, and you can uproot yourself, because it's a human connection.
I think that's a big mistake that this show makes, is that their writing is very primitive.
Yeah. It's not as good as Sex and the City was.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not. And I think they try to bring him back on board and maybe try to create something out of it, and it was okay at some point, but it's not.
The one storyline I think is spot on is Charlotte and Harry. Right. I think that is the epitome of elitist New York.
Yeah.
The top families in New York, private school education, bulldozing parents, bulldozing father, helicopter mom, going around chasing for condoms for her adopted daughter. I think they got that particular storyline exactly like it should be. And I don't, and also, I can't remember the name of the black actress and the black husband.
Oh, Lisa Wexley.
Yes, right. And I think that's the same also African American storyline of well-to-do African Americans always under the pressure to do more because they've succeeded as an African American, which is that much more challenging to succeed in our society as a minority, particularly in African America. So once they're up in the threshold, they have to constantly be achieving for higher and higher status all the time. I think those two particular storylines, I think they got it correctly, and it wasn't over exaggerated. But the Shay and the Miranda storyline, and Carrie was always Carrie.
So
Carrie's always just kind of floating in the wind.
I know Tom and Lorenzo called Carrie the toxic girlfriend.
Yes,
and I think that is a perfect description for Carrie.
Right. And I have a hard time reconciling how she goes from Mr. Big to Aiden.
I know.
I found Mr. Big to be a worldly guy, a wealthy guy, a sophisticated guy. Aiden, I kind of feel like he's a little bit of that.
He's a creative. He's an artist. Right. He does work with his hands. He's
right. See, Mr. Big in his situation, if he had a kid that was suicidal, I think he would have handled it differently from a left brain kind of standpoint.
Probably.
The right brain Aiden guy, he said I got to go back and handle my kid. I can't handle you and handle my kid.
Yeah.
Mr. Big kind of guy, he goes and handles both. He can he can make it to work both. He can probably bring in the kid to live with them or find some accommodations because he had the money, he had the financial resources to do it. That's just how things are done. And I just think that she went from not necessarily one extreme to another, but she went from one side to another side. And
so let me ask you this. Do you think that they transitioned these women to señoras properly? Appropriately, because in Sex and the City they were in their late 30s, maybe early 40s, getting married, having babies.
That's a great question.
And then we went through like transitions of like the two movies where Samantha takes them to Abu Dhabi and then they like get married and Anthony gets married to Stanford. Do you think that this show really did a good transition in sending these women into their señora era?
I didn't think they delved, and I'd have to watch the show again to probably pay attention.
And maybe not because they're white ladies, so
because
they're probably not.
If I had that question in my mind watching the shows, I think I would have paid attention to the idiosyncrasies because a lot of that stuff is idiosyncratic, and I don't think they delved too much into later stages of a woman's life. Maybe Miranda a little bit with the sexual confusion. That could have been something that you could probably find somebody that has experience to realize that they prefer a different sex. Or, Charlotte and Lisa, for example, I don't think those two. I don't think they. I mean, there was the motherhood kind of component with dealing with teenagers. I can see where that could possibly.
Yeah, no, but I think the part where I have a struggle with is with like, for me as, I don't know, a Latina mother.
Right.
And I'm raising teenagers, and my complete disgust as the way that Charlotte raises her girls. I would never allow my girls to talk to me the way they talk to me. I would never allow Harry to talk to me the way he talks to Charlotte. I would never put my life away just because my girls need me. And I think she did eventually go get a job, but she went looking for condoms. I said, absolutely not. You're coming home. You don't have a condom. You're coming home. There's no way you're having. And I'm very liberal and I'm very open-minded with my kids, but absolutely not. I am not going to go look for a freaking condom for you to go have sex. I don't care what you say to me. You're coming with me. You're coming home.
Well, that's the extreme of that particular sub-society that existed because they don't want the perception of their kid getting pregnant too early.
I know, but is it the mom's responsibility to go find a condom for her kid?
Well, in their little world, it is her responsibility because they're so hung up about the perception that they have as parents in their little society of that particular economic class.
I disagree. I don't like it. I don't think it's.
Well, you don't have to like it. I don't like it either.
I don't know that it's necessarily.
I don't like it, but that's the world they live in.
Okay. Well, maybe I'm not very accustomed to that world. I don't know the world very well.
That's just the world they live in. The
girls don't like.
It's whose husband makes more money. It's who has the latest iPhone, who has the latest Land Rover, who took the latest trip. In business class.
Yeah, no, and I think we've been around people that are always competing on that.
It's a constant competition all the time. So if your kid is pregnant at 16, then you're persona non grata because you're not the amazing super mom that you're supposed to be.
Right.
So she'd rather go and get a condom for her kid so she doesn't lose that perception.
I see.
Right?
Okay, I see
because
that point. I see that.
All of a sudden now your pregnant kid is going to this high-end private school, and that's pregnant. And, those schools are not about the education. They're about the money. You're not getting a better education there.
It's about status.
It's about status. So these people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for tuition for a 14 or 15-year-old kid. And if they find that the kid's pregnant, that school has no qualms about letting your kid go. And because there's 100 of the kids in a wait list trying to get in.
Yeah. And I think what gives me the pause or gives me an issue with this, for example, when the girls were like ordering food because they didn't like what was at home, there's no way my kids would order food if they didn't like what was at home. They eat what's at home, and that's it. It's the bottom line because that's what it is. It is what it is. Is it because I'm not as wealthy as them? I don't think it has to do with wealth. I think it has to do with family values. Yes. And I've taught my kids that, no, you are not going to go order food just because you don't like what we have here. You don't like what we have here, then don't eat, and you're not going to eat anything. But I'm not starving my child or anything, but I'm just not going to, I'm not going to give in to my kids' qualms. Right. Spoiled bullshit.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of little worlds that people live in all the time, and that's how they adjust to those worlds. And I'm not saying that every elitist New Yorker or Bostonian or somebody from LA or Houston acts that way. Some parents can bring humble values into a family and they can be super wealthy, and that's a personal decision that those parents make. And they can be very confident people and don't care what their little sub-society that they
dictates for them.
But what they're trying to show and portray in this particular show is that this society is huge in New York City, and this is exactly how it plays out. And I think they got that particular storyline spot on. Right. I listened to Scott Galloway guy, and he had mentioned that he was part of that sub-society, and it's exactly how, the way he described it is how it comes out in the show. I do miss Samantha, though, as a character, because I think she does a better job than the
Seema.
She just had a bolder personality. She was more crass. And I think she
said what she meant every time.
Right. There was no wishy-washiness. Seema's like indecisive. There's Samantha loved you or she didn't love you, and there's really no in between.
There was no in between. Right. And appreciate people like that. I think I appreciate people like that because they come across as who they are.
Right.
And that's it, either you take me or you leave me, and that's it, bottom line. With Seema, it's a lot like very indecisive. She doesn't know if she wants to be with him. She doesn't know if she can handle, being in a relationship. She's been, free for so long. She's so used to her independence. She doesn't know if she can do it. All of a sudden, this guy shows interest in her. I'm like, to me, it's like, you're a 50-year-old woman, 55, 56. Why are you having these qualms? This is ridiculous.
And she's not only in her 50s, but she's a 50-year-old woman in by far the most sophisticated and cultured city in the world.
Yeah,
in New York City,
for sure.
Where they'll spit you out faster than you can probably spell your own name. And it's just it's a rough and tumble world out there. So you gotta fit in, or not. You don't have to fit in, but you got to grow thick skin. And she acts like she has a very thin skin to things. When that particular hairstylist has said, was giving her relationship advice instead of hair advice, she just walked out of there as if she was some emotional.
Like, how dare he give me this advice?
As she was an emotional adolescent girl or something like that. She shouldn't have been able to handle that better, and said, hey, you know what? That's actually good advice that you're giving me. Which she eventually came back and agreed that what he was saying,
eventually she did. But you have to sit there and think about it for a bit before you get up off your chair. And I think it's the writer's problem. I don't even think these actresses even know. Like, I think they probably, of course they don't know. But I think a lot of the times it's these writers assume things about people that are very limited and short-sighted and not nuanced.
I don't know how that Michael Patrick King, I don't know why he decided to, I don't know how the decisions are made on the production side of why he decided to change the storyline. But a lot of it seems, looking from the outside in, is that they were trying to avoid any kind of criticism from the woke community on Twitter and whatever.
I know. Stop playing to them.
Just stand up to them.
Stop playing to the woke community. I'm so annoyed with that. Okay, I'm going to do a podcast episode on how annoyed I get with people who play to the woke community. Listen, I'm an open-minded progressive liberal, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah. No, it's too extreme. They're gonna find something to complain about. There was that great show about the first ladies, that the lady that played Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton,
Viola Davis,
Michelle Obama,
Betty Ford,
Eleanor Roosevelt, Ford. And they didn't like it how Viola Davis how she was pursing her lips too much. And that Michelle doesn't do that. Okay, well, maybe they can clean that up on season 2.
I know, but they canceled the whole damn thing.
But do we need to cancel the whole show for something so idiosyncratic?
And that show was fantastic.
Right. And those first ladies weren't coming back. A second season could have been a different set of first ladies. It could have been, Hillary Clinton. It could have been Laura Bush. It could have been Barbara Bush. It could have been, I can't remember Nixon's wife. Lady Bird Johnson.
I was just going to say Cynthia Nixon because I was just thinking about it, but that's not her name.
Yeah, no, that's the
that's the actress.
Right. They could have found a different set of actresses.
Yeah, I know.
The idea of portraying these instrumental women in these presidents' lives, I think, is a great concept for a show, because this is the person you go to sleep with, of the president of the United States. He is the one.
True.
That will tell you everything. Well, maybe not the top secret stuff, but he will tell you exactly what's going on. And the best unfiltered and unbiased advice always comes from the spouse, because they don't have anything to lose. She's not on the payroll. She's not the chief of staff. She's not the national security advisor, secretary of state. There's no perception.
She's outside looking in.
She's outside looking in and giving you good advice. And I think how those women particularly influence these presidents. I mean, Nancy Reagan was notorious for the astrology, and she was notorious for affecting Ronald Reagan. And this is the guy that gets to make the decisions that affect the entire world, and to know what was, to go into their minds and find out.
I think that's just such amazing.
It's a phasing. It's unfortunate they cancel those shows, right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but again, it goes back to this woke community, this woke culture that has to be like so spot on. And it's like, it's insulting that she's doing that. And how insulting to Michelle. I bet you Michelle Obama did not give one.
She didn't give a shit. She didn't come out on the show and criticize it at all. What we learned from that show is what we kind of thought about her, and kind of reinforced the fact is that she was the backbone of that marriage.
Yes.
And Barack Obama was the easygoing, he was the penultimate,
the idealist, and she was the realist.
He was the idealist, but he was the penultimate father of daughters.
Yeah.
And that's how he ran his presidency. Very, very stoic. He was He was very thoughtful. He was he had emotional components involved in his deal.
Emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, right? And that's what you see of a father of two daughters.
Yeah.
That's a caring father, and she was a stern one, and she's the one that kind of kept Barack Obama.
She was
in
a
check.
discipline.
She was a disciplinarian.
Yeah,
right.
she was a disciplinarian. She's
Right.
the one that held it together. She's the one that made the decisions. She established systems in the White House to make sure that everything was handled and taken care of.
Right.
And I think knowing Michelle from what I've read from her books, I've read all of her books, and I read everything about her. She would have probably not even said one damn thing about Viola Davis, just pursing her lips,
Right.
because she's so much more.
She's just a great actress,
and she's such a phenomenal, intelligent woman that she
Right.
will never. I just know this. I just feel this. She wouldn't care if Viola Davis pierced her lips.
Right.
But here we are, canceling this beautiful, wonderful show because
Right.
some people got on Twitter and decided that it was just
too much.
so disrespectful
Right,
to Michelle.
right.
Like, seriously?
Yeah. It would be nice if Michelle had come out and say it's not disrespectful.
No, it would have been good of her
right.
to do that,
Right.
but I don't know. She will not. She doesn't do that. She doesn't
Right.
come out and do that kind of thing. Anyways, I think we went into like a really serious conversation.
We always say it's going to be 15 to 20 minutes.
It never is.
Always got a lot to say, a lot of things.
But thank you for being on.
Oh, I'm glad to be back. I'm glad I'm still around.
Okay, so you brought some white wine. What did you bring for us today?
Oh,
Just share with everybody how you've picked this wine.
This wine is from Valle di Aosta, and it's from northwest Italy, right by the Swiss border. And it's a very indigenous grape that is native to that particular region. And it has very similar characteristics to a young Chablis from Burgundy, or Chardonnay. It has a kind of little bit of that butterness, butteriness, and it doesn't have a lot of oak in it, which I like. I don't like a lot of oak in the wine because I'm not interested in tasting the wood. And you can get this stuff. You can get this at Houston Wine Merchant over there on Shepherd and Westheimer. And it comes in a Jura-like bottle, Jura.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it's not exactly like a Jura-like bottle, but it's very similar to Jura's, just south of Burgundy, also close to the Swiss border. And there's these little fat, chubby bottles. They're not the typical 750 milliliter skinny bottles that you buy, and it always catches my attention. So it's a great grape varietal.
Thank you for bringing it in. It's beautiful.
Yep.
It's lovely. I love a white wine in the summertime.
So if you like a Chablis that doesn't have a lot of oak, this particular grape varietal from Valle di, I said Acosta, but it's actually, I think I killed the whole bottle. It's actually Valle di Aosta, Aoste.
Italian.
Italian, yes. Hardcore Italian wine.
Okay, beautiful.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
sweetheart.
you.
Appreciate you
Love
having me
you.
on. Yeah, love you too, Pumpkin.